You stand in the courtroom, the air thick with tension. Your eyes are glued to the proceedings, but your mind can't help but wander, calculating the gravity of what's unfolding before you. You're here for one reason: the trial of a woman who served her country, a female veteran who you never imagined would be in this position. But here she is, seated in the defendant's chair, looking almost out of place among the polished suits and scripted arguments. Her uniform might be long gone, but the proud posture, the unwavering focus, it's still there. You can tell she's been through more than anyone could guess. In a crowded courtroom, it's hard to hear the words at first, but then you catch them. The lawyer's voice, cold and sharp, striking a blow aimed directly at her heart. "You expect us to believe this is a woman of honor?" he sneers. "A veteran, of all people?" His words, thick with disdain, slice through the tension. The room stiffens. For a moment, the woman's face remains stoic, though her jaw tightens and her eyes narrow. You can see the weight of those words and how they hit deep within her. The lawyer's venomous insults seem intended not just to tear apart her credibility, but to destroy the very essence of her existence as a veteran. It's as if being a woman, as if her past service were something to be mocked, to be used against her in this courtroom. The anger in the room rises, and you almost expect someone to stand and shout. But no one does. The woman's silent strength commands respect, and it's clear the lawyer has underestimated her. What he doesn't realize, however, is that this isn't just a simple trial. It's about to become something far bigger, something much darker and more complex. You don't know it yet, but this case, this courtroom drama, will soon take a turn no one could have predicted. The veteran hasn't spoken yet, but her silence seems to be a weapon in itself. You know she's been through battles far more intense than this. She's been in the field, and she's been in the crosshairs of this system, just like so many others. Yet you get the feeling that something isn't right here. This trial isn't just about her. The woman in the defendant's chair, the one who served her country, holds secrets. Some of them are more dangerous than anything the lawyer could ever say. You glance around the room, noting the faces of the other lawyers and witnesses. They seem uncomfortable with the way things are going, but no one dares to intervene. The tension hangs in the air, as heavy as a storm cloud ready to burst. The lawyer's words continue to drip with mockery, but the veteran doesn't react. She holds her ground. You wonder how many years of training, how many years of pushing past ridicule and insults have led to this moment. You think about the time she spent in combat, the horrors she must have witnessed, the fear and courage that molded her into who she is now. And yet, here in a courtroom where justice is meant to be served, she faces the most brutal assault yet, one that has nothing to do with the war she fought. But something's off. You can feel it. This story isn't just about a woman being insulted. No, there's more to it. The lawyer doesn't know it, but he's walking into a minefield. And, slowly, that reality is about to dawn on him. The lawyer's voice reverberates through the courtroom, relentless in its barrage. A woman soldier serving her country. What an absurd notion, he sneers, the words dripping with a disdain so palpable that even the judge's gavel seems unsure how to strike. You can hear the murmur of disbelief from the gallery, but it's quickly suppressed by the sheer force of the lawyer's rhetoric. He's spinning a narrative of weakness, questioning her every move, belittling her every sacrifice. It's cruel, it's calculated, and it's obvious. He wants to break her, to make her an example. He wants to use her status as a female veteran against her, as though her service somehow disqualifies her from dignity. His words aren't about the case at hand. They're a personal attack, aiming to strip away the humanity of a woman who has already given so much. But something about her presence speaks volumes. The veteran, though silent, radiates an unshakable calm. Her posture never falters, even as the insults come faster. You can see her trying to keep it together, though the strain in her eyes betrays the struggle. Every word seems like a punch, yet she holds her ground, her resolve as solid as the military training that's been etched into her over the years. And then, something unexpected happens. The veteran's lawyer, a seasoned professional, steps in, calmly but with an air of authority. He motions for a brief recess, and the judge, perhaps sensing the intensity, obliges. The room shifts as the defense lawyer, a man with the reputation of someone who doesn't take any nonsense, pulls the veteran aside. His tone is low, but you can sense a shared understanding between them. "Don't let him get to you," the lawyer murmurs, his eyes flicking to the opposing counsel. "We know who you are. The truth will come out." She doesn't respond, but you can see her shoulders tighten in a way that betrays the effort it takes to stay composed. But just as you think the situation might settle into a lull, the door at the back of the courtroom swings open. The footsteps that follow are heavy, deliberate. It's a family member. Her family. But not just anyone. This particular figure has been conspicuously absent from the proceedings until now. Their presence is a game changer, and it's clear that whatever they're about to say is going to alter the course of this trial. The judge raises an eyebrow, looking at the newcomer with suspicion. "Is there something we should know?" he asks, his voice betraying a tinge of curiosity. The woman strides toward the bench, her eyes scanning the courtroom before landing on the veteran. There's an awkward pause as the woman takes a deep breath, perhaps weighing the gravity of the moment. She's not here as a witness. She's here to reveal something far deeper, something no one expected. Without any preamble, she addresses the room. "I'm here to reveal the truth," she says, her voice calm but firm. The courtroom falls silent, every person hanging on her words. This isn't just about a veteran. This is about a woman who has been systematically betrayed, and I am here to tell you why. There's a shift in the room, a collective intake of breath. The lawyer, who had been so quick to attack, now looks stunned. The defense lawyer stiffens, but his face remains unreadable. You can almost hear the mental gears turning as everyone in the room tries to process what's happening. "Who are you?" the judge asks, clearly taken aback by this unexpected interruption. "I'm her sister," the woman replies, her gaze steady, and that's when the weight of the revelation hits. The woman in the defendant's chair, this stoic, resilient veteran, isn't just a random figure in this case. She's connected to someone who has known her intimately for decades. And this sister isn't just a passive bystander. She's here to drop a bombshell that will shake the very foundations of the case. The lawyer's smirk fades as the sister continues, each word a blow to the carefully constructed narrative he's been weaving. "You see," she begins, her eyes locked on the lawyer, "this woman has been through things you can't begin to understand. Her story is not one of just courage on the battlefield. It's a story of survival in a world that's tried to break her at every turn." The courtroom shifts again, the murmurs louder now, as the audience begins to grasp the magnitude of what's unfolding. The lawyer, sensing the change in the tide, raises his voice, trying to regain control. "Your Honor, this is an irrelevant distraction," he insists. But his words fall flat in the face of the revelation. The sister turns to the judge, unfazed. "I'm here to tell you about her real battle," she says, her voice unwavering. "About the years of abuse, the unspeakable trauma, and the secret the lawyer's family has kept hidden for years." A ripple of shock passes through the room. The veteran's head drops slightly, but she doesn't look surprised. You realize in that moment that this is not just about a court case. This is personal. This is history, buried for far too long, finally coming to light. And in the silence that follows, the lawyer's smirk falters completely. His eyes widen as he begins to realize the gravity of what he's about to hear. The game has changed. The battle lines are no longer just between lawyer and client, between prosecution and defense. This is something much bigger. The room is thick with tension now. Every pair of eyes in the courtroom is glued to the woman standing before the judge. Her words hang in the air, charged with a weight no one expected to carry today. You're on the edge of your seat, your pulse quickening as the reality of the situation begins to sink in. The sister's revelation hits like a thunderclap, rattling everyone in the courtroom. The veteran, this woman who's been subjected to mockery and degradation, is not just some ordinary person. She's connected to a much darker, far-reaching story. A story that stretches beyond the confines of this trial and ties directly to the lawyer's family. "You have no idea what she's been through," the sister continues, her voice gaining strength. Her words start to pierce through the layers of pretense, shedding light on a history that had been buried deep within the fabric of this case. "You don't know the whole story. You don't know what it cost her to even walk into this courtroom today. The veteran doesn't look up, but her hands, tightened into fists on her lap, speak volumes. This isn't her moment to speak, not yet. But the silence in the room is deafening. Everyone is now waiting for the bombshell to drop. The lawyer, whose once smug expression has now faded into a ghost of disbelief, looks from the veteran to the sister. His mind races, but the words don't come. His earlier confidence, his ability to twist the situation in his favor, evaporates. It's the sister who continues, her voice shaking but resolute. You see, this man's family, she points to the lawyer, has been responsible for the very horrors that this woman survived. They made her life a living hell, long before she ever donned the uniform. A collective gasp reverberates through the courtroom. The tension that once felt so suffocating has now burst, and the full extent of the secret is beginning to come into focus. You see the shock on the lawyer's face, his skin paling as his grip on the edge of the table tightens. You can feel the shift in the atmosphere, as if the courtroom itself is holding its breath. The judge looks at the sister, his face drawn in disbelief. "What exactly are you saying?" he asks, his voice quieter now, more measured. You can see he's trying to grasp the enormity of what's unfolding. The sister takes a deep breath, steadying herself. "I'm saying that the lawyer's family, not just his distant relatives, but his immediate kin, played a pivotal role in the horrors my sister faced before she ever went to war. They caused the trauma. They were part of the reason she needed to leave home to escape. They betrayed her, manipulated her, and treated her as if she were worthless. And now they're trying to tear her down again, in this very courtroom." The words hang in the air like a heavy weight. You can see the veteran's jaw tighten, and for the first time since this trial began, she shifts in her seat. It's the smallest of movements, but it's enough to show the pain that's been unleashed. This isn't just an attack on her military service. It's an assault on everything she's fought to overcome. The family she thought she'd left behind, the shadows of her past, are now walking back into her life. The lawyer opens his mouth to respond, but no words come out. His face is contorted with a mixture of disbelief and guilt, but there's something else. Fear. He knows what's coming. He knows the truth is about to be unveiled in its full, unrelenting force. And then the sister begins to recount the stories. The years of emotional and physical abuse that the veteran endured at the hands of this very family. The manipulation, the gaslighting, the dehumanizing treatment. She describes how the veteran was left to fend for herself, how she was abandoned when she needed her family the most, how she enlisted in the military not just to serve her country, but to escape the hell her own flesh and blood had created. "You don't get to call her weak," the sister says, her voice rising in defiance. "You don't get to stand there and degrade her when you've played a part in her suffering for years." You watch the lawyer's expression falter as the walls around his carefully crafted narrative begin to crumble. This was never just a case about a female veteran. It was a case about power, betrayal, and the deep, unhealed wounds of a family at war with itself. The truth is raw, and it's dangerous. In the moments that follow, the courtroom is filled with a mixture of disbelief and unease. The audience shifts uncomfortably in their seats, unsure of what they've just heard or how to respond. The judge leans forward, his gaze fixed on the sister, his face now etched with concern. "You're saying that this lawyer's family was directly involved in the abuse?" the judge asks, his voice steady but clearly shaken by the enormity of the claim. The sister nods, her eyes unwavering. "Yes, I know it's hard to believe, but it's the truth. And now this man, he's trying to use my sister's service, her honor, to destroy her, to wipe away everything she's worked for, but you can't erase the truth. Not now." The room goes quiet. The lawyer, unable to form a coherent defense, looks over at the judge, his face a portrait of defeat. His arrogance has crumbled. The walls he built to tear the veteran down are gone, reduced to dust. The revelation of family betrayal, buried secrets, and the trauma of a war at home are now part of the public record. And still the veteran remains silent. She doesn't look at her sister, but you can see a faint glimmer of something in her eyes. Perhaps it's relief. Perhaps it's the faintest trace of victory. The weight of a secret so heavy, so devastating, finally lifted from her shoulders. The silence that follows the sister's words is deafening. The weight of the revelation crashes down on the courtroom like an avalanche, burying everyone in its wake. The veteran's family secrets, once hidden under layers of denial and shame, are now out in the open for all to see. And with them, the lawyer's carefully constructed case unravels in real time. You can see the lawyer's expression, once full of arrogance, now twisted in disbelief. He's scrambling, trying to grasp the full scope of what's been revealed, but it's too late. His attempt to break the veteran, to use her military service as a weapon against her, has backfired in the most spectacular way possible. The courtroom is no longer a place of measured argument. It's a battleground where the past and present collide with explosive force. The judge, who had been silent up until now, leans forward, eyes locked on the lawyer. "This is a serious accusation," he says, his voice cold but steady. "If you're going to deny this, I suggest you do so with evidence." His words hang in the air like an ultimatum, but the lawyer is speechless. The truth, now spilling out in all its rawness, has left him paralyzed. The veteran's sister stands tall, her eyes never leaving the lawyer's stunned face. "You wanted to tear her apart," she says, her voice cutting through the thick tension, "but you didn't even know what you were dealing with." Her words are sharp, full of years of hurt that can't be erased. She survived hell, not just once, but twice. And now you think you can make her relive it in this courtroom. You see the veteran's eyes flicker, and for the first time she shifts in her seat, her hand subtly moving toward her sister. There's something comforting in that small gesture. Maybe it's the first time she's felt seen, truly seen, for who she is, not just as a veteran, but as a person who's fought battles both external and internal, battles that the courtroom will never fully comprehend. But the sister isn't done yet. She steps forward, her voice steady but full of undeniable authority. "You all think you know this story," she says, her gaze sweeping the room. "You think you understand what happened here, but you don't. Not yet. Let me tell you the rest." And with that, the sister recounts the years of torment the veteran endured as a young girl. She talks about the family's role in shaping her into someone who had to escape, someone who had to leave behind everything she once knew just to survive. The abuse wasn't just physical. It was emotional, psychological. The veteran had been manipulated, gaslighted, and belittled until she was convinced she wasn't worthy of love or respect. "You have no idea," the sister continues, her voice thick with emotion, how many nights she spent crying herself to sleep, wondering if she would ever be free of them. Her eyes lock onto the lawyer. "This man's family, his own flesh and blood, left my sister broken and discarded." The room is still, the impact of the sister's words sinking in. The lawyer, his earlier bravado completely shattered, glances at his family in the gallery. You can almost hear his thoughts racing, the guilt, the shame, the knowledge that his own kin had played a role in the suffering of the woman sitting before him. But that's not all. The sister presses on, telling the courtroom how the veteran, desperate to escape, enlisted in the military, not just to serve her country, but to get away from the toxic family that had nearly destroyed her. The military, she explains, was her escape, her chance at redemption. It was there, in the uniform, that she found a sense of purpose and strength that had eluded her for so many years. "You think she was just a soldier?" the sister says, her voice rising with conviction. "No, she was a survivor. She fought for herself long before she ever fought for her country." The courtroom is silent, each word from the sister sinking in deeper than the last. The veteran, though still silent, looks like she might finally break free of the weight she's carried for so long. Her shoulders relax, just slightly. For the first time you sense a shift, a quiet, powerful recognition that the truth is finally being heard. The lawyer, now visibly shaken, opens his mouth to speak, but the words don't come. He's completely undone. His attempt to drag the veteran through the mud has backfired in the most humiliating way possible. His own family's secrets, his own legacy, have just been exposed. The judge, who has been watching this whole unraveling carefully, takes a long pause. You can almost feel the gravity of the decision weighing on him. "This is unprecedented," he mutters, his voice laced with disbelief. "But given the gravity of these claims, we must take them into account." He looks at both the veteran and the lawyer. The court will adjourn for the day. We will reconvene tomorrow to assess how this new information will affect the trial. And just like that, the courtroom empties, but the atmosphere is electric, with a strange mix of relief and anticipation. You can feel the power of the moment settling in, knowing that nothing will ever be the same again. The veteran, her sister, and even the lawyer know that this trial has changed from a legal proceeding into something far more personal. You wonder, as you watch the veteran finally rise from her seat, whether the weight of this moment has fully hit her yet. She's fought so hard to survive, to prove herself, and now she's finally being heard. But the road ahead won't be easy. This battle has only just begun. The next day, you walk into the courtroom, and the air is thick with anticipation. Yesterday's bombshell revelation has reverberated through every corner of the legal world, and now the fallout is ready to unfold. You can feel the weight of the situation pressing down on everyone, especially the lawyer, whose eyes are filled with a mixture of guilt, confusion, and dread. The sister's words continue to echo in your mind as you take your seat, as if they are imprinted on the very walls of the courtroom. The past is no longer something buried under layers of time and secrecy. It's here, alive, and impossible to ignore. As the judge enters and calls the room to order, the tension in the air is palpable. The veteran, sitting at her table, seems poised, almost serene in her quiet defiance. She doesn't meet anyone's gaze, but you can sense that today she is no longer the victim. She's something much stronger now. She's the embodiment of the truth. The lawyer stands, his body tense, his face a mix of apprehension and disbelief. He knows, deep down, that this case has already slipped from his grasp. Whatever power he had yesterday, however commanding he appeared, has dissolved. His accusations against the veteran now seem petty, insignificant, and downright malicious in the wake of the family secrets that were laid bare. And now, the focus of the trial has shifted from his attack on her character to the consequences of his own family's past actions. The judge clears his throat and addresses the room. We are here today to consider how the new information introduced yesterday affects the proceedings. This is an unexpected development, but we must move forward. His voice is steady, but there's an underlying tone of gravity that suggests he knows just how momentous these revelations are. The veteran's lawyer stands next, a quiet confidence in his stance. Your Honor, with the revelation of the familial abuse that this woman suffered, we request that all charges against her be dismissed. The accusations made by the opposing counsel are not only baseless, but have been tainted by his own family's involvement in her trauma. The victim in this case is not just a soldier. She is a survivor of a long history of manipulation and abuse. The judge looks over at the veteran, and for a brief moment their eyes lock. There's a silent exchange between them, something unspoken. For the first time, the veteran seems to exhale, an act of release that no one in the room can ignore. It's as though a massive weight has been lifted from her shoulders, even though the legal battle is far from over. Then the lawyer steps up, his earlier swagger completely gone. He looks defeated, trying desperately to regain control over the situation, but it's clear that his words are just a formality. He begins with a shaky apology, more for the damage done to his reputation than any genuine remorse for his actions in the courtroom. He tries to argue that his family had no idea about the veteran's past and that he wasn't responsible for the actions of his relatives. But as his words spill out, they sound hollow, empty, like a last-ditch effort to salvage whatever pride he has left. You watch as the veteran's eyes never leave him. She's no longer angry. The rage that might have boiled inside her yesterday has been replaced by something far more powerful, indifference. She doesn't need to fight back anymore because the truth has already done the work. She stands tall now, a testament to her strength. She's not here to tear him down. The truth has already done that. The judge turns to the defense, his tone now more somber. Given the nature of these revelations and the circumstances, the court will adjourn for another week. We will allow the defense time to prepare any further documentation to support their request for dismissal. The words fall heavy, and with them, a sense of finality begins to settle in the room. There will be no more underestimating this woman. The court has seen what she's been through, and nothing will erase the strength, that has brought her to this point. As the trial breaks for the day, the crowd slowly begins to file out. You remain in your seat for a moment, still processing everything that's transpired. You think about how this trial was never about the case at hand, never about the charges or accusations leveled against the veteran. It was always about uncovering the truth of what the veteran had been through, the truth of her strength, and the truth of the system that had failed her time and time again. The lawyer's family, who once held the power, the privilege, has been exposed, their history now laid bare for all to see. And yet, it is the veteran, the silent one, the overlooked one, who holds the true power now. The courtroom may be a place for legal battles, but it has witnessed something much larger, the triumph of truth over lies, of resilience over cruelty. Later that evening, as you reflect on the events, the significance of the trial becomes clearer. The veteran's journey, her fight for justice, isn't just a legal one, it's a cultural one. The case has sparked something bigger than anyone could have anticipated, a larger conversation about the treatment of veterans, especially women, and the way that hidden traumas are often ignored or buried. It isn't just about one woman anymore. It's about all those who have fought silently, both in combat and against the invisible wounds that follow them home. It's about justice, not just in the courtroom, but in the way society acknowledges and respects the sacrifices of its veterans. And as you leave the courthouse, you feel it, a quiet sense of hope, that maybe, just maybe, this trial will change the way the world sees those who have served. It's not just about the victory here in the courtroom, but the victory that is yet to come in the hearts of many. A week has passed since the last session, and the courtroom buzzes with a different kind of energy. Gone is the arrogance of the lawyer, replaced by a quieter, more somber atmosphere. The judge enters, and everyone rises, the weight of the upcoming decision hanging in the air. You can feel it, the collective anticipation, not just for the verdict, but for the larger implications of what this case represents. The veteran, though, remains calm. There is no anxiousness in her demeanor, no nervous glance to the side. She stands tall, her posture as straight as it was when she first walked into this courtroom. She has nothing left to prove. It's clear that in her mind, the real victory is already hers. The truth has come out. The world has seen it, and that is enough. The lawyer, now looking like a man who has lost more than just a case, sits at his table, his eyes downcast. It's as if the fight has been completely drained from him. There is no more bravado, no more calculated manipulation of words. What remains is simply a man facing the consequences of actions that, until now, he thought would remain hidden. The judge surveys the room, his gaze lingering on both the veteran and the lawyer. The silence in the room is deafening as he speaks, the words measured, heavy with their own significance. After careful consideration, and in light of the new information that has been presented, this court finds the accusations against the defendant to be unfounded. The charges are hereby dismissed. You can feel the room breathe a collective sigh of relief, but it's not just the defense team exhaling in relief. It's the veteran, her sister, and everyone who's been silently rooting for her all along. This isn't just a legal victory. It's the validation of a lifetime of struggle, of survival, of enduring the unthinkable and still standing tall. But the case isn't truly closed. The judge isn't done yet. However, he continues, his voice growing firmer, it is essential to recognize the greater societal issue at play here. The treatment of veterans, particularly female veterans, has long been overlooked. The emotional and psychological scars they bear are often dismissed or misunderstood. This trial has brought those wounds to the forefront, and it is clear that we, as a society, must do better. The judge pauses, letting the words settle. It's as if he knows this case is about more than just one person. It's about how society views and treats those who have served, how women in the military have often been relegated to the background, their contributions minimized, their trauma ignored. The courtroom feels different now, almost reverent. There is no cheering, no loud exclamations of victory. Instead, a quiet respect fills the room. The case may be dismissed, but the issues it raised are far from over. You can feel the shift, a subtle change in the air. As the judge adjourns the trial, you watch the veteran stand, her sister at her side. The two of them share a look, one that says everything. It's not just relief, it's the quiet understanding that the road ahead is still long. The fight isn't over. There are still battles to be fought, injustices to be corrected, but for now, they have won this one. And that victory is monumental. Outside the courtroom, the media is already buzzing, eager to report on the trial's conclusion. But the story isn't just about the case. It's about what's come to light, the conversation that has begun, and the voices that have been raised in support of all veterans, especially the women who have long been overlooked. The veteran's story is now part of a larger narrative, one that will resonate with so many others who have faced similar struggles in silence. The victory today isn't just hers. It's everyone who has fought for recognition, for justice, for acknowledgement. It's a victory for the women who served and continue to serve, for those who have been silenced and marginalized for far too long. It's a victory for those who are still fighting battles that are too often ignored. But as the veteran walks away from the courthouse, her sister's arm around her shoulders, you realize that this story isn't over. The media frenzy will die down, the legal records will be filed away, but the impact of this case will continue to reverberate. People will talk about it, debate it, and most importantly, remember it. It will spark conversations, inspire action, and ignite a movement that goes far beyond this one trial. And in that moment, you feel something change. Something in the way people talk about veterans, especially women veterans. It's not just about military service. It's about understanding the deep emotional costs that come with it. It's about recognizing that the fight doesn't end when the uniform comes off. The fight, in many ways, only begins. You think about the long journey that this woman has been on, her struggle, her resilience, and now the recognition that, at least in this moment, justice has been served. The trauma of her past is not something she'll ever fully escape, but today, she is no longer defined by it. She is defined by the courage she showed, not just on the battlefield, but in the courtroom, where the truth at long last came to light. As you watch her leave, walking with the quiet dignity of someone who has faced down the worst and emerged stronger, you can't help but feel a sense of hope. Maybe, just maybe, the tide is turning. Maybe we're finally starting to listen to the voices that have been silenced for so long. Maybe at long last we're beginning to see the full untold story of those who have served. The journey isn't over, but today there's a small, hard-won victory, and for now, that's enough.